Go Island is brought to you by German Auto Import Network.
The first Nanaimo City Council meeting of 2014 took place on Monday, January 14th. We're recapping some of that today, focusing in specifically on a black box theater rehearsal space attached to the Port Theater and a commercial grow up at Duke Point.
A chocolate lover's dream at VIU, making up for some lost time and a brand new edition of Clock.
You are watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. We'll join Nanaimo Mayor John Rattan in just a moment to recap the most recent City Council meeting. But first, culinary students at Vancouver Island University are enjoying the sweetness of a benefactor from Europe. Here's Annette Lucas. A business license for a commercial marijuana growing operation has been approved by the City of Nanaimo, and now, which came out at City Council meeting on Monday, the details are left to sort through, and the details are very thick and somewhat complicated. First of all, there's zoning around the industrial area out at Duke Point where this facility could be located.
You're right. It's zoned I-4, Industrial 4. And what we did last night at last night's council meeting was to make future business opportunities of this type aware that we will not automatically grant them the opportunity to have a legal grow operation, medical marijuana grow operation, as an automatic thing. And our concern is simply on the basis of taxation. We expect everyone who wants to run a business and buy industrial land to pay their fair and appropriate taxes for that. And the concern we had was that there is a bit of a loophole where they may be able to apply as an agricultural crop, which it is, and get some financial relief on that in the way of either reduced or eliminated taxes. Certainly for ALR, that would apply for agricultural reserve land.
The company that is proposing this, or not proposing it, but moving forward with this, has agreed under contract to not do that.
Well, that's the point. They've entered into a separate agreement between the city and themselves, whereby they say, look, we understand the regulations, we want to pay our fair share, we will sign a contract to effect, and we will not apply for relief if it in fact is available to them. They have chosen not to do that and to work with the city, and we appreciate that.
So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when and how. And it's not just the City of Nanaimo that plays a role in determining the details. We're also dealing with the federal government as well as BC Assessment. What role do they have to play?
Well, basically, they're involved with enforcement and policy establishment, which they've done. And it's a little complicated because it involves all three levels of government. But our role as the municipality is simply to make sure that now that we have excluded the growing of medical marijuana as a permitted use on that site, anyone else coming along and wishing to establish a business in that same general area won't automatically be guaranteed that they can do that without negotiating with the city separately. And at that point, we will ensure that the interests of the taxpayer are looked after and the applicable taxes will be paid.
What is the general feeling, do you think, amongst the citizens of Nanaimo about whether they're in favor of this or not in favor, and sort of the mood and the energy around it?
Well, you know, I think it's kind of a mixed kettle of fish. I think a lot of people have different opinions, obviously. I think the issue here, though, is that what the government wanted to do, and I think both the federal and provincial governments were strong on this, and that is that the growing at home in small private residences for people for their own use of the marijuana just wasn't working for a number of reasons, sometimes overproduction, sometimes illegal sales, and it just became a problem that couldn't be enforced. And so they made a dramatic change. No more growing of your own marijuana at home. It's going to only be done through licensed premises, much like the one established, or will be established at Mon Road, out in the Cedar area. And when that is set up, it's going to be rigidly controlled. It's going to be grown indoors in this quite a large building. There'll be surveillance cameras there. They're going to have a very, very detailed security zone set up there. And, you know, that's fine. There's a method of dispersing it. I think it's going to be dispersed through approved sites. And I think some of the large courier companies will be actually sending this out. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to do that part of it. That doesn't really involve the city. But I don't think it's not like there's going to be people hanging around street corners and trying to sell this stuff. It may happen, but it's not going to happen as a result of this growing operation. It's going to be tightly controlled. We're comfortable with it at the city level, and I think it's going to be another source of taxes, and that's of interest to us.
Excellent, thank you. And the amount of those taxes are yet to be determined. A lot of those details will be worked out in the coming months, and I have heard that there is a little bit of urgency for things to get growing and the first harvest to take place. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with more.
Still to come, Mackenzie Egan has no trouble walking now and a race against time in a new episode of Clock.
Did you know that this MRI scanner magnetic fields is 30,000 times more powerful than the Earth magnetic field?
Up next on Go Island, Kelly Robinson introduces us to a little girl who has struggled through health problems since the day she was born. She didn't walk until she was 3 years old, but as Kelly shows us, she's making up for lost time now. The Show of Hearts telethon kicks off on Saturday, January the 25th, 7 p.m. on both Shaw TV and Global. An impressive lineup of entertainment this year, including Cirque du Soleil, Elton John, Mumford & Sons, and a few others as well. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. We're going to talk to Nanaimo Mayor John Rattan a bit later on in this episode of Go about a new theater, a potential new theater space connected to the Port Theater, which brings us to the Cultural Plan. The Cultural Plan is hosting a couple of open houses in the near future. Wednesday, January the 22nd from 10:30 until 1 at Port Place Center, and then another one on Saturday the 24th right in the Port Theater lobby that runs from 5 until 7:30. Your input and awareness of the Cultural Plan here at the City of Nanaimo. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back with more. You are watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. Talk of a black box rehearsal-style theater space next to the Port Theater has been, circulating in the community for about the last 10 years. It seems to sort of fall off the priority list and then come back up to priority again, which it did at Monday night City Council meeting, with the Port Theater asking for a letter of support from the city to get behind this project. What is the value point of a letter of support?
Well, I think they just want to gauge the support or lack of, in the case of some, support for what they're trying to do. And what they're trying to do is build a rehearsal area as part of this. And the black box type thing confuses some people. It's just an addition to the Port Theater for smaller venue plays, and also for the opportunity for people to practice as a zone there. And, the important thing to remember is the city owns the building, the Port Theater, and the Port Theater Society did try this previously. They were assured several years ago that the funding was just about in place, and at the last minute, federal funding didn't come through, and so it was shelved. Now they're wanting to look at it again. There's no commitment on the part of the city at this point to get involved. We just want to learn and listen and help them if we can, but there's no financial commitment whatsoever at this point.
There is a cultural plan almost finalized at this point, from what I understand. Is this venue a part of that plan?
It will be. We're waiting to get the cultural plan finished, and we're trying to dovetail the two of them together. So I think at that point, we're hoping that by the time we find out whether or not the funding will be in place for the Port Theater addition, we'll hopefully be very close to the time when our plan for the Cultural Committee will be available too. And I think the two of them will mesh.
And when you say support from the city, does that mean money, or does that mean just in concept?
Well, in concept, and that's a good question. It ultimately may mean some money, but I think it's premature to speculate on that. What we're saying is we don't have a lot of money, but we want to see you succeed. We want to see the Port Theater thrive, and we want to see theater groups continue to grow. And so therefore, it does take a certain amount of money. We're going to wait to see what their plans are and what the city's role can be. At this point, we simply don't have that information.
Thank you. As like most issues discussed at City Council, there are opposing opinions, opposing sides, a lot of discussion, a lot of things to consider. Where does Nanaimo Center Stage fit into this picture? Again, premature to decide anything or predict where anything might go. Follow City Council through the Nanaimo City website for more details if you're interested. We're going to throw things over now to a couple of guys who sometimes agree and sometimes don't. It's a brand new year and a brand new edition of Clocked. Guaranteed a win next time? Well, we'll just have to see about that. But I won. Finally, I'll take it. A win by 10 seconds. I think that makes it 4 for me out of 17. So if you've got any ideas for Clocked, I need a little bit of help still. kate.bergen@sjrb.ca. I'd just like to give a little shout out to the sponsor of Clocked as well, 1440 Wellness. I paid them a visit the other day. Great group of people. I left feeling refreshed and brand new. And a special shout out to Alexis who works there. What a wonderful, wonderful woman. Thanks for watching this edition of Go Island. We'll see you next time.
Go Island is brought to you by German Auto Import Network. Clothing supplied by Catwalk Fashions. Kate's Hair and Aesthetics provided by Matteo Salon.